Welcome back, lads and ladies, to toshiothunder YouTube channel, and welcome back to War Thunder. We got the tank baby sitting on our lap today, reaching for the microphone, and we're featuring the Grizzly. So this video, how to Grizzly, and rule number 1, learn your guns. So the Grizzly has a 75mm nose-mounted cannon that is fantastic for taking down tanks, light bunkers. It's designed for ships, but can it take them down? Don't count on it. So here you see us doing some ground strike, and we're going to go over a few maps and just kind of go over strategy. So, as an attacker, step 2 is know the spots in the map that are good for you. And then step 3, prepare to fly defensively. And you say, Toshio, the Grizzly's fast, but you can't defensive fly in that thing. You know what? That's my answer.
Excellent.
So we go back to ground strike. What do you mean by defensive fly in the Grizzly? Well, 1, protect yourself from the ground. Tree OP. Set up your attack runs to conserve your speed. So you wanna stay upward of 200 miles per hour at all times. And then when you see an enemy fighter coming into your AO, put the pressure on him, but don't drop your speed. Don't use maneuvers that are going to drop your speed, because your thing is you get them to linger on your tail, and then you make them pay with a hail of 50 caliber ammunition. You have a rear gunner that controls a top turret and a bottom turret, and if you're lucky, and if you do little movements, I've talked about this before, but little movements to avoid getting hit, and then keep your gunners on target, you just might be able to get some kills. And here you see that our tail control surface has been blown off. Our elevator is gone. But do we immediately crash into the sea? No, we don't. When you are pitching down, pop those combat flaps. You're going to start pitching up violently after that, so roll left and right. A left roll makes you turn left instead of pitching up. A right roll makes you turn right instead of pitching up. So you wobble like that, and you can get the nose to start coming down again, and guess what you do then? You pop those combat flaps again. And like that, you can actually return to base. You can go anywhere like this, right? It's lumbering, it's slow, but you know what? You ain't dead yet. Never give up. Until your wings fly off, then it's time to J out. Save those American lives. But you see what I mean? There's always that chance that you can make it back to base. There's always that chance you can pick up another kill. Go for it. Okay, snowy map. Do you guys know where this is? It looks like Ardennes. So here we are, fighting the old Battle of the Bulge. Tasty. So with the Grizzly, I recommend keeping your speed up. It really flies like the ME-262A1U4 Narwhal. That's a mouthful. You know what? So is a nose-mounted 75mm cannon. Another fun fact for that 75mm, while you're learning how to use it, you can use your 50s to sort of range find and get on target. That's tasty. So just being able to pop tanks in an airplane is my favorite thing to do in this game, and using a high power cannon to do it is the best way. So we're having a good old time. We've gone to the section of the map where you can find enemy tanks, and it happens to be one where there's generally less enemy fighters, but we found a friend. So we quick pop another tank. I know he's diving on me, but I figured I had enough time to get in one more kill, and now you look us doing a little bit of a roll, and we get our guns on target. Little rolls will move you quite a bit in a big plane like this, and they don't throw off the aim of your gunners too badly. But because he's a P-47, he managed to survive for just long enough to shred us to pieces with those 8 wing-mounted 50 cals. New match, new map. You guys recognize this one. So where do you go on this one? Go for the tanks. Now there is an alternative strategy for surviving in any attacker, and that is to to go to the edge of the map at low altitude for the first half of the match. So say for 5 to 8 minutes, you just kind of lay low for a while, and then you go in and you start running on ground targets, and by then the enemy team will have climbed. By then any low-flying fighters will have suffered the fate of low-flying fighters. Unless you're against the Brits and they're in Spits, or the Japanese in Zeros, then they might actually have a little bit longer lifespan. But you don't have to worry about them so much in the Grizzly because you're reasonably durable. And again, here's some more ground strike for you. Notice the attack patterns we're using. Shallow dive, shallow climb, and knowing where the trees are. I can't tell you how many times I've died in an attacker to the ground. So, rule number 1, learn your guns. Rule number 2, fly in a way that's good for you. And rule number 3, prepare to fly defensively. And you'll notice that whenever we get somebody on our tail, here we are. Oh, rule number 4, keep your eye on the sky. Know where the enemy team is. Let's call this situational awareness. So here we're having a grand old time popping targets, even with the rear gunners. But as soon as an enemy fighter targets us, we start moving in a straight line, low altitude, and keeping our speed up. And that's no fighter, that's a BE-6. So who will be the champion here? Can American 50 cals beat Russian bias? You know what? We got one of his engines, and at that point I'm thinking, you know what? He's probably going down. So it's time to duck out and use our speed to get away from him. Even easier to make separation when one of his engines is very badly damaged. That's right, Guppy. He's going down. And Guppy loves to see a Russian premium bias getting shot into ground. So now we're getting attacked by actual fighters who are diving down on us with a significant amount of speed. And this is a sign that A, my team is not doing all that hot, or B, these guys are sacrificing their lives to come after little old me. And you know what? I'm okay with that. As an attacker, your role in the battle is to do 2 things. 1, bleed points from the enemy team by taking down ground targets. And 2, bait enemy high-altitude fighters into diving down on you. It's sort of similar to bomber gameplay, but bombers are boring now. So there's this. Attackers are definitely the most action-packed role in the battlefield. If you want to get into the action, we hit him in the suspension. Doesn't count. Moving on. IRL, we would have tracked him and then he would have been dead meat, so don't worry about that. But then IRL, war is hell, and I wouldn't want to be there. So, here we are ground striking on a different map. Do you recognize this one? And once again, we're going where the tanks are. Thanks for asking. But Fields of Normandy is a rather constrained map. There's nowhere I can go that there's not going to be a cloud of enemy fighters above me. So all you can really do here is either the tactic I mentioned before, let the match progress for a bit, and then engage ground targets. But the downside to that is you have to burn, 6, 7, 8 minutes, and if your team isn't doing well, you're still not going to have safe airspace. So this is probably the better strategy. Just go for ground targets, keep your speed up, and hope for the best. What we're doing is something I've shown a lot in my Narwhal videos, so check those out. By the way, oh man, I got some good stuff in the Narwhal. I love that airplane. But you go along the front line of the enemy, and you go up and down that line, and you just do your little dips and little lifts, and you line up the targets with as little course correction as possible, and then you keep your speed up. So here we are, this is our lowest speed portion of the attack run, and now we're just going to be accelerating continually through this. We should stay upward of 200, 250 miles per hour the entire time. Get as close to your target as possible. Launch that round. Sounds like Guppy needs a nap. I'll be right back. And looks like we had a perfect match there. That's one we dream of. So, what map is this? Back to the Pacific, lads. So, when Guppy starts sounding like a Reddit commenter, it's time for her to take a nap. I don't even she'll just complain about everything until I put her in the crib and walk away. And then she eventually falls asleep and wakes up all happy. So, if you've got a girl who's whining about something, you don't necessarily have to address this specific thing. Look for the... let's put it this way. Get her comfortable first, and then talk. So, here we are, getting comfortable. We went for the island on the left side of the map, the one that's not chock full of AA vehicles. There's a reason for that. And here we find a little Zero who wanted to scout out our location, and like finding an army ant out in the middle of nowhere, there's sure to be more to follow if he finds success. So here we DACA at him. Get a few hits, and then we keep our speed up again. He's a Zero. He can't catch us if we don't let him, and continue to go after ground targets. And I mentioned the other island. You know what? Maybe it's time to go there. So we've focused on taking down the AA on this island because it can be quite troublesome, and now we're moving to the other side of the map. It was my spidey senses were tingling when that Zero came and attacked at low altitude. I felt like there would be more soon. So this is what B looks like on this map. Significantly more busy with the anti-aircraft fire, and there's a few enemy fighters who are coming here to resupply, but first I'm targeting this AA. Now you're like, Toshio, it's just AA trucks, just ignore them. I can't tell you how many times I've been shot down by those specific AA. They can and will one-shot you. They will tear your wing off in one hit, even when you're in the Grizzly. I hate those things with a passion. So here we go, and we see a enemy heavy fighter landing at just the wrong time, and we start to miss quite a bit with our gunners, but getting a few hits, and then can we take him even at this range? That was nice. I am a ground striker after all. If you have the audacity to land in front of me, well, I'll show you some American hospitality. And now the enemy team has noticed little Kohai, and Senpai is sidling on over with his 20 mils, but the rear gunner on this thing is still just as deadly as ever. Now, even when you do set a Japanese aircraft on fire, it is likely it's going to die, but they can keep shooting, so do those little movements like I showed you. Wiggle, 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 boom, 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 wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I don't recommend a lot of elevator, but little taps on the elevator can move you quite a bit, but they will throw off your gunners for about 0.2, 0.3 seconds, and that's an eternity in a dogfight. So, if you can do a little roll to the left or right, that can also throw them off, and it doesn't throw off your gunners so badly. However, the Grizzly is not indestructible. It's not even as tough as the B-25, which is a very durable frame. If you have a B-25 and you're watching this video, it plays a lot like this aircraft. So, once again, for the second time, here we are on Norway, and skip bombing just didn't quite work out for us that time. And so we go to the island. The island, yes. And here we're attacking the ground-based AA, as well as howitzers, the howitzers, and we're specifically being a pest here. We could go to the enemy harbor and attack those bases there by the bombing target, but again, that AA can be quite nasty. I mean, this can too. You can tell everything on my plane is damaged, and look at these nice shots of me just taking down enemy installations. even with the rear gunners, and now we have a fighter on our 6. Maybe he was looking to land, maybe he was looking for an easy kill, but he's lurking behind us, and that's the last thing you want to do in any airplane against an enemy bomber that has heavy machine guns or better facing in your direction. A lucky 50 cal lights him on fire, but you see he's still able to maneuver and fire, so if he was dedicated he could have gone for us, but he pulls off hoping to survive the fire. He dies, we fly, we're having a good time. A point is being captured, so here we come in for a landing, and we are very badly damaged. We're practically falling out of the sky, so this is not the best approach for final approach landing, but it really is final approach here. This is our last chance to save the plane, save the crew, survive the match. It looks like our team's winning, but we do touch down. We're going to survive this one. So it always feels good to survive a battle, especially in a bomber, or I should say in an attacker. Once again to the Pacific. This time we're the ones defending our little island. Is this Guadalcanal? I can't quite tell. But we're defending from the Japanese. Let's show you skip bombing. So we're coming in low. I did an entire video on skip bombing, but the Grizzly can take down a destroyer with its bombs if they all hit. And there we have it. And boom goes the dynamite. So that is just about the most optimal approach you can have when you're skip bombing. When the enemy ship is coming toward you and it's just a little bit off, you're just a little bit off of their bow, and so you have sort of a diagonal approach with your bombs. That way if they bounce once in the water, they can still land on the enemy ship. And we managed to get the hits about 3/4, maybe 60% of the time. We can take down a light cruiser or a destroyer with our bombs, and that's just a bonus because this thing can, as you can see, defend itself with the rear gunners, harvest some. So this feels especially good in an attacker to harvest fighter kills for those guys who fly low altitude early in the match and dive on the first thing they see. The guys who go into a match hoping to kill an attacker in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the match. It feels so good to shred those guys to pieces. And if they linger on your tail, make them pay with a hail of bullets. And now I feel like, well, landing. Let's land and repair. And my spidey senses are tingling. I know that there's enemy fighters high above me in the air, so we switch to the defensive gunners even while we're still decelerating on the landing strip, looking to see visually if anyone's diving on us, checking to see where the enemy craft are, and oh, a landing craft is coming our way. This should be fun. And what's up with this respawn? Like, where am I supposed to go? Which airfield did you expect me to take off from? Can you not just put me at the end of a runway, Gaijin? Like, is that too hard for you? But anyway, we do eventually remember how to taxi. You don't want to give yourself 100% power with these engines. There's just so much torque that you'll just end up spinning in circles around 30%, and use your rudder to line yourself up. And then a bit of some wonky responsiveness of the plane here. I don't know if you've noticed that. It could be because of my ping or packet loss or something, but my ping wasn't too bad in this match. 100 is not the best, but it's sort of what I've come to expect out of my router and update 177 in general. Ping went up about 40 milliseconds with this patch. So that. And with that, we get back to pestering enemy naval craft. Here we have a side-on shot going for skip bombing. I didn't really want to spend a lot of time on this one, and you see the downside to attacking side-on with a bombing run. You're much more likely to miss. In that case, the bombs skipped right over the entire enemy destroyer. So here a landing craft has beached a medium tank. Shame if someone were to derp it. That 75. Are you starting to see why I like the Grizzly? There's more action to come. Trust me. Next map. Once again in the Pacific. Once again. Is this starting to look like old news? There's always that one guy that's like, you know what? I'll go after him. And he pays the price. But this guy looks like he's been a little bit more cautious, staying at longer range, or maybe he's just flying slow. But he's smoking, and he's gonna done scamper off, so that was probably wise of him. RUNNOFT. So we're checking our tail just in case he wants to turn back and give Senpai another good look at his engine compartment with the 50 cals. Back to pestering naval craft. Nice double strike there. Once you start learning how the 75 of the Grizzly works and getting a real feel for it, it can be a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun. And because you can fire it independently of the 50 cals, I highly recommend you bind your machine guns and cannon and other guns to different buttons so you can use them independently. As an attacker, that can double your effectiveness in the battlefield. You can take down way more targets before going back to base to reload. And again, once you really get a feel for your guns, you'll be a lot more effective in the battlefield. And you can see the points of the enemy team have suffered greatly from my loving administration of American ordnance, and now the enemy fighters are starting to converge on my location, which is fine by me. We fly low, we fly fast, we let them have a taste of our rear gunners, and you know what? That scares them fairly well. Now these Zeros, they like to maneuver, but they also like to chase me. So let them chase you, and let those weak, underpowered Japanese low-velocity 20mm rounds just sail on by. A little tap to the elevator will throw off their aim quite a bit, and it takes those rounds a long time to catch up to you. So use that to your advantage. Even in a head-on with a Japanese key, whatever it is, it can be done. Don't overcommit. They tend to maneuver quite a bit. Do not follow them into the vertical. Stay fast, stay low, stay salty, my friends. And we are starting to take quite a bit of fire. Engines are suffering. I have not mentioned that the engine on the Grizzly is the same as that, I believe, in the B-17. Good engine is what I'm saying. Very durable. Takes it a long time to run out of oil, and now we take one down and we have the entire Imperial Japanese Naval air arm on our 6. So at this point I know what's gonna happen, right? This is the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot in reverse. So I'm having a good old time with these guys, and they're doing their best to shoot me down. And once a Zero gets in close, they're actually pretty hard to hit, because they're not a really large plane, and they can maneuver just as well as you can. Look at this cloud. Look at this cloud. You know what sound effect to use here. So guys, I hope these little tips have been helpful to you. I'm sure there's more, but I always go in kind of a train of thought with these guides. Hope you enjoyed. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.